The book of Job. Job of Uz is a righteous man, blessed with wealth and many children. God proudly asks Satan of his opinion of Job's piety, and Satan sneers. He only loves you because you bless him. Take it all away, and he will curse your name. And God did not like that. He accepts the wager. In a day, raiders steal the herds. Fire from heaven burns the sheep. A storm crushes every son and daughter. But Job nonetheless praises God. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Satan presses harder. Painful boils erupt all over Job's body. Job sits in ashes, scraping his skin, lamenting the day he was born. Then his three friends arrive with the good old formula. Suffering equals a secret sin. Job scorns his friends, and in turn, he berates God for treating him this way. Job asserts that a just God would not treat him so harshly, while doing nothing to punish the wicked. He protests his innocence, lists the principles he has lived by, and demands that God answer him. At last, a whirlwind answers. God offers no explanation whatsoever. He just changes the subject and gaslights Job by asking, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth?" Overwhelmed, Job concedes. God is omnipotent, and Job knows nothing. He retracts his complaint and bows. Job's health returns, his wealth doubles, and new sons and daughters are born. But that doesn't erase what just happened. The darkness in the book of Job is obvious. The Almighty lets himself be goaded by the devil into destroying a pious and innocent man just to prove a point. Job's critique was right, but God just silenced him with a rhetorical power move, and now the justice of God is seemingly arbitrary. Sodom and Gomorrah. The Jordan plain held 5 glittering cities, but 2, Sodom and Gomorrah, sang with violence and depravity. The cry of their victims pierced the heavens, and God did not like that. So he dispatched 2 angels to test the towns. Abraham wrung a promise from the Lord. If 10 righteous are found, the cities live. The angels discovered only one, Lot, who hurried them under his roof. Night fell, and every man of Sodom crowded the door, demanding the strangers for carnal pleasure. Lot offered his daughters instead. And, that's nice of him, I guess. Anyways, the mob declined, and they howled for the angels. The angels struck the crowd blind. Judgment could clearly not be delayed any longer. The angels pushed Lot, his wife, and his daughters toward the hills. Run, and do not look back. At dawn, sulfur and fire cascaded from the sky. Lot and his 2 daughters are saved, but his wife disregards the angels' warning. She looks back and is immediately turned into a pillar of salt. Then Lot and his daughters seek refuge in a cave, where the daughters ply their father with wine and lays with him. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. I think you can figure out the darkness in this one on your own. The angels probably shouldn't have saved anyone from Sodom and Gomorrah. The fall from Eden. On the first day, God created light and separated it from darkness. On the 6th day, God shaped humanity in his own image and placed Adam and Eve in Eden. Paradise was theirs to enjoy, except for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God said you must not eat it, or even touch it. If you do, you will die. But the serpent whispered in Eve's ear, God is lying to you. Eat, and you will be like him. Eve saw the fruit was desirable, so she ate and handed it to Adam. Then both knew things they had never known before, and they realized that they were naked, so they hid. And God did not like that. Summoned by God to explain themselves, Adam blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the serpent. For their disobedience, paradise was lost, and the sentence is swift. Women are cursed to bear children in agony, and man is doomed to toil the earth for food. Humanity was made mortal. Dust they were. Dust they will become. The Lord drove them out, placing angels and flaming swords to guard the entrance, barring our return. The darkness of the fall lies in this. Humanity's first choice in paradise was to grasp at divinity rather than trust it. And from that breach with God flows the original sin, inherited by all of Adam and Eve's descendants. We are all doomed to eternal toil, pain, and suffering, all for a sin someone else committed. And now, every field we plow reminds us of a paradise lost. Only through Christ, later called the second Adam, will a door back to God crack open. Noah's Ark. Only 10 generations after Eden, the earth is filled with violence, and the corruption spreads like rot. And God did not like that. So the Creator decides to start over by unleashing a flood to erase everything that breathes. Out of all humanity, he singles out one righteous man, Noah. For a century, Noah hammers together an enormous wooden ark, while his neighbors laugh at the dry ground. God commanded Noah to bring 2 of every creature and squeeze them inside. And in his 600th year, Noah entered the ark and closed the doors. Then, the sky splits. Rain lashes down and subterranean springs explode upward. And the laughing stops. Everything and everyone drowned, human and animal alike. 150 days later, God remembers Noah. The waters retreat. The ark settles on the mountain of Ararat, and 8 stunned survivors step onto a scoured planet. God sends a rainbow across the clouds, a promise to never drown the world again, and a reminder that he once did. God commanded Noah and his sons to repopulate the earth, and they dispersed across the land. Noah plants a vineyard, drinks himself senseless, and lies naked in his tent. A family quarrel over his exposed body ends with a curse on his own grandson. The new world is already cracking. Noah's darkness lies here. The Almighty who breathes life can wash it away just as quickly, and even his chosen vessel stumbles once the waters subside. The Tower of Babel. Once, humanity spoke a single tongue. We were united, and nothing seemed impossible. And on the plain of Shinar, humanity set their sights on the heavens. They said, "Come, let us build a city and a tower that touches the sky. Let us make a name for ourselves." This was no ordinary skyscraper, but a gigantic ziggurat. A shrine meant to summon the divine on our terms, effectively enabling man to manipulate when and where God would send his blessing. And God did not like that. God descended from the heavens to destroy the project. But he did not smash it. Instead, he struck at the foundation of their power. Unity. In an instant, the common language splintered. Friends opened their mouths and heard only foreign sounds. Confusion replaced cooperation. The tower stood half-finished, and its builders scattered to the winds. The unfinished city earned its new name, Babel. Confusion. The lesson is blunt. When humans manufacture unity around self-glory, God dismantles it. True unity must be a gift from God, not a self-made monument. Babel's darkness lies in the shattering of our first collective dream, undone by the deliberate destruction of our understanding of each other. Humanity's great project became the birthplace of our division, fulfilling God's earlier command to fill the earth, confirming God's authority over us. The plagues of Egypt. For 400 years, the Israelites labored under Egyptian whips. Pharaoh made the Nile region run on Hebrew sweat, and then sneered at the God who claimed them. And God did not like that. He sent Moses with one demand: "Let my people go." Pharaoh laughed, and the duel began with Moses as God's vessel. First, the Nile turned to blood. Then came the frogs, the fleas, and the flies. Pestilence felled the cattle in the fields, followed by boils, and then hail mixed with fire rained down on Egypt. A locust swarm finished what the hail had spared, and at last came darkness, thick as pitch, gagging the land for 3 nights. After each stroke, Pharaoh said no. For the first 5 plagues, Pharaoh hardened his own heart, but for the last 5 it was God who hardened it, forcing him not to budge. The contest was never meant to end early. Then came the 10th and final plague. Every firstborn in Egypt, from crown prince to farmer's son, died in a single breath. Only the Hebrew homes, brushed with lamb's blood, were passed over. Pharaoh finally broke and shoved the Israelites toward freedom, loading them with plunder just to see them gone. Yet God hardened Pharaoh's heart once more, luring the Egyptian army to drown in the Red Sea. And the darkness of the plagues lies here. To humble one tyrant, God punished an entire nation while he interfered with free will, hardening the ruler's resolve with one hand and striking his people with the other. God's judgment of Jerusalem. Jerusalem's leaders had turned violence into currency and worship into fraud. In Ezekiel's vision, the city's inhabitants are no longer precious metal, but slag. And God does not like that. He declares that the people of Israel have become dross. So the Lord announces a smelter's sentence. He will gather the inhabitants into the furnace of his wrath, the way a refiner heaps scrap into crucibles. The city itself becomes a furnace. God's breath is the bellows. In his anger and wrath, he will ignite the streets until bodies soften the way metal softens in flame. They will feel themselves melt, and they will know it is the Lord who pours out this heat. The darkness here is blunt. God describes his own people as industrial waste and chooses incineration instead of restoration. The Crucifixion. After 3 years of healing the sick and calling himself the Son of God, Jesus entered Jerusalem to cheers of Hosanna, save us. The city priests called it blasphemy, and Rome called it unrest. Judas identified Jesus with a kiss in Gethsemane. Overnight tribunals found him guilty. Pilate offered a Passover pardon, but the crowd chose the bandit Barabbas. Jesus was flogged, crowned with thorns, and marched to Golgotha. Soldiers drove iron spikes through his wrists and ankles and hoisted him between 2 criminals. At noon, the sky darkened for 3 hours. Jesus cried, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" And then he died. A soldier's spear confirmed the death. Before sundown, his body was wrapped in linen and sealed inside a borrowed tomb under Roman guard. The darkness here is twofold. First, a sinless man is executed with exceptional brutality, pierced, crushed, and publicly mocked. Second, Christian theology holds that this victim is God incarnate, so humanity literally murders its own creator. And that murder becomes the very mechanism by which humanity's sins are forgiven. It's so metal. To heal the wound our sins created, he absorbed every lash and nail. Forgiveness cost us nothing, and him everything. That's it for now. Let me know in the comments which moment from the Bible you think is the darkest and why. As always, thanks for watching. Cheers.